Hi there. Come on in. This is Rhythm and Rose Cafe. It's a safe place. It's a place that we built to be like the old coffee houses of the 60s, because those were crazy places. Places where people of divergent opinions would actually get into heated conversation with each other, and then they'd leave as friends anyway, just the way they came in. So let's grab yourself a cuppa, whatever it is your favorite. Today we're doing, I believe it's Starbucks, right? Oh, this is next week. Next week we're gonna all do this nasty stuff. What's it? Medium roast, Death Wish coffee. So go get yourself some Death Wish coffee, and next week we'll all drink it at the same time. And since we're interactive, you can tell us in real time what you think, and we'll tell you. Anyway, today's guest. Well, before I forget, I want to regroup a little bit about last week. The title of last week's show was Alice is in Wonderland. You didn't really get to the title meaning through that show, so I'll tell you what it meant now. What it meant was, in crowd control, people in your employ have radios. A lot of them do, especially the supervisors. They're spread throughout the crowd. If you have a show like an Aragon show, which is general admission, you have to have a way of getting people from a holding area through two sets of doors, turnstiles, ticket takers, and then prevent them from stampeding up the stairs and killing each other before they get to the stage, because there's no reserved seating. So what do? You make impediments, okay? You use corrals, you use bike racks, you use all kinds of stuff to impede the flow of traffic and reduce the mob to a small, manageable volume. What the problem is let's say what happened at the Who concert in Cincinnati. The doors were going to open at about 6 o'clock. Well, at 4:30, the band began a sound check. When the band began a sound check, the security allowed the group that was waiting outside for this general admission show to go right up to the doors. And when they went right up to the doors, they heard the music, they heard the sound check, and they thought the band is already on the stage. So they started to surge towards those doors. The doors were supposed to open outwards, not inwards. So when they finally started pushing the doors outwards, because the security wanted to make sure these people weren't getting crushed, they crushed people, because the wave went backwards and they started to stampede on top of other people's. So when this came out, we studied it and we said, how are we going to stop people from anticipating that we're going to open up the doors? We coded the command. We said, instead of the doors are going to open, we said Alice is in Wonderland. And that's how we beat them.
And that was the cue. That was the cue to open the gates.
That was the cue to open
get ready.
up the
We're
gates.
opening
Right.
the gates.
They could hear it all they want, and unless they were on the crew, they didn't know what the hell we meant. In fact, most of the crew didn't know what we meant. Only the supervisors knew what we meant. You know, we didn't want it to get around. Anyway, the first title, the title of the first chapter of our guest tonight, Angelia Bianca, is called
Go Ask Alice.
So it leads you right into it. Our music segment today is going to be truncated a bit. I'll tell you a little bit about it after we hear from Angelia. She's going to tell you why she's the guest here tonight.
So, in regards to the first chapter, Go Ask Alice, is actually from the song White Rabbit, and as my book, and whoever reads it, I'm not that person anymore. However, I'm brutally, brutally honest, because I had to tell it all. So that way people in this lifestyle will know that it ultimately ends inspiring with me climbing out of hell and making a life for myself. I've been clean almost, May 8th will be 15 years, productive, law-abiding. I went back to college, got degrees, and my many years, over 3 decades of lived experience in the high-risk street activity life now helps me in my professional life of working in the community to deter youth and high risk
What's the official title?
violence interrupters. So my book is In Deep, and I have to send a big shout out to Linda Baxter, my co-author, to which I could never have written this without her. She is a brilliant writer and editor. The book is called In Deep, How I Survived Gangs, Heroin, and Prison to Become a Chicago Violence Interrupter.
Now, the subject of today's episode is going to be what to do about guns, all right? I'm not going to say gun control. I'm just going to say what to do about guns, all right? And with us tonight is our two attorneys, Nick and Will. I'll let them give you their last names if they dare. I don't, okay? I'm just Danny D. You know, I will be their foil, okay? I'm going to take the opposing point of view. Angie will take wherever she wants to fit, okay? Either on the right, the left, or in the middle. I want to tell you a little bit about the right and the left. If you don't know what it means, you got to go back in history to the one of the Louis. Oh, never mind.
You're not going to get into. You're not going to
Okay.
get into your European history.
Go ahead.
No, you
We
can't
don't
do
hear
that.
about the
to
French
us.
Revolution.
No. I know him. I know him.
And
He's
just how they sat in the parliament.
All right, so
Once they
Angela,
left
That's
after
how they
change.
sound. You know, conservatives.
how
sat
did
on
you
the
get
right,
started
liberals on the
in
left.
your road, in your path to hell, as you call it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bad
So,
bad way.
I mean, where did this all begin? I know. First of all,
We
we
went to the same
realized
grade
we went to the
school.
same grade school in Oak
And
Park.
graduated the same year.
Right.
So in Oak Park at Emerson. Anyway, so, and when he came in and whoa, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And then I was like, when he said he remembered me, and I go, so I was high all the time, right? And he was like, "Yeah, I do remember that, you know." So yeah. So how I started. First of all, I was really out of control because my mother, I had a little sister named Chris, I call her Cricky, our mother left us when I was 5, my sister was 1. So it was kind of like really traumatizing for me, obviously. And so a lot of untreated childhood trauma. And so I'm Sicilian, we don't like, oh, we'll take her to counselor, like that does not, we just forget about it and we're not gonna talk about it anymore. So my grandmother, God bless her, I love her with, I carry a lot of guilt because I was in prison when she died. But anyway, so my grandmother, my father's mother, raised myself and my sister. And I was really out of control. And I learned at a very early age with my Italian family, like, because they would go, like, to my grandma, because I was nosy. My sister was playing with dolls. She didn't care about anything. I was always nosy and listening, and I'd hear all the old ladies going, "Oh, Maria, those poor little girls," you know? So I knew, like, I had an edge, you know what I mean? So I was really...
Manipulative, you
Yeah,
say?
absolutely. I mastered manipulation at the age of 5.5. So... and again, when I speak, I'm not proud of the things I used to do. I'm just very honest and open, and because maybe it will help somebody. So at the age of 9,
Why do you want to help somebody?
I want to help somebody because I care about humanity. And I know a lot of people say to me, the work you do with violent gang members or, individuals in high-risk street activity, like they'll say, how many do you help? What's the ratio? Out of 25, how many do you really get straight? And I might say 1 or 2. I'd be like, so is that worth it? You risking your life? Now, you know what? Maybe for other people, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but if I could save 1 person, I'm okay with that. Right?
Is that a religious conviction or is that a personal
Just
humanitarian?
Me. Oh yeah, I'm not even religious. I'm just spiritual. I don't really,
She works, I've worked with people with addictions for 37 years that I've been a criminal defense lawyer. And you can send people to rehab 4, 5, 7, 8, 10
If they're not
times.
ready.
Exactly. If they're not ready, if they don't want to do it, it's not going to matter. Okay? Some of my greatest drug dealing clients used to sit outside rehab centers, and as soon as the people come out, they'd sell their drugs.
Right.
And
That
then
happens in a while, yeah.
all the time. So, until that light goes off and they say, listen, I'm done with this. They get to a point. But you can't force them to that point. right? You
You would think I would have scrapes with death.
What?
but-
So where was your
so,
point?
Okay, so
where did your point?
Well, let me
come
just
from?
say, I started getting high with Keith Norman's father was dying. My friend from Emerson, we were 9 years old. His father was dying of cancer,
And I knew Keith too. Yeah.
and Keith told me, "Hey," because we were already smoking weed at 9, and standing out in front of National Grocery Store in Harlem, asking somebody to buy us Boone's Farm. So at 9,
Boone's Farm.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Boone's Farm was
And-
big.
and-
Not even
and-
Matus.
and-
No.
and-
Every
no,
time
no,
I
no.
hang out to
No,
any Boone's
Boone's
Farm
Farm.
comes out.
And the adults would literally be like, okay, and go in and give us the
Right,
Boone's Farm, strawberry, whatever.
Strawberry Hill.
Yeah, or night train, whatever. We didn't care. So anyway, then so
MD
Keith said to me,
2020.
"Hey, I'm gonna take some of my father's medication. Let's just try to take it and see if we like it." And I'm like, okay. So he comes, he steals some, and his mother, Wanda, and they're all dead, so I could say these names. But anyway, including Keith Norman, rest in peace. Anyway, yeah, let me do I was raised Catholic. Anyway, so however, me and Keith ate the pills. Now at that time, I didn't know what they were. I had no idea. But years later, I look back, they were morphine. And they were morphine for the pain, for the cancer patient who was in a lot of pain. So, but we liked it. So he was constantly
Of course.
stealing those and then other pills. And then,
What's not to like?
Well, and it was probably not as lower doses as they are now. I mean,
Yeah.
you get a.
we got really high. I mean,
Oh,
it
I'm
was-
sure you
yeah.
did. Because,
Well, were-
I mean, now you get
Were they
what
the
they call
synthetic
Norcos. You
ones
get
back then? Or
well,
were
but you
they
get
the real?
Norcos now, and there's like 5 milligrams. It's like big deal.
It's like
Okay?
taking extra
Yeah, I mean, it's like
yeah.
those things do nothing for you.
Well,
but if
I
you
don't do
remember,
any-
you remember
anything
back in
about
the
it.
day
I
with the
see.
methaqualudes, those things they outlawed them because they
They
were too
outlawed
good.
them.
These
Well, they-
days,
All the
So-
Quaaludes, the lemon, the roar,
Yeah, I mean, they
Well,
were-
methaqualone could
Right.
make a white man dance. Okay.
But the point being is, I think a lot of those drugs back in those days, they were pretty much higher doses because they didn't
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
know. They really didn't know
Well,
what you were
then,
getting into.
after
back then.
the initial the feeling of the morphine, then Keith kept stealing more, and then now they were like the reds, the yellows, the blues, the carbatrols, So anyway, and lots of Quaaludes. So then that just kept excelling. Now I'm 11, and I'm still getting high. I'm hanging out in Scoville Park. I'm in Austin Gardens. I remember my father said. I remember I was probably like 11 or 12, and my father, who only came to our house like once a week to give my grandma money, and yes, he loved us, but he was always working. And anyway, and the oak leaves, my grandmother, he'd come on Wednesday when the oak leaves came out, and my grandmother would put the paper right there. So he would say to me, "Angela, get over here." And I'd go, everyone was like scared of my father. So be like, "What, Daddy?" And then he'd be like, "See this? I never, you see, they're saying that like a lot of kids are hanging out in Austin Gardens. I will break both of your legs if you go to Austin Gardens." I said, "Oh, I'll never go there."
So she goes to Scoville Park
she was
instead.
going-
No. So, but then it comes out once a month. By the time the next month's issue came out, and I remember I'm like 11 or 12, I was in Austin Gardens. I was so high on Soapers, Quaaludes, God knows what else, that I was like slurring, and anyway, the Oak Park police came in with a sting with the paddy wagons, and they're throwing us in, and the paper, all these news people are there, and they snapped a shot, and my I don't know if you remember David Birch, and sorry, he doesn't even live here anymore, so he won't watch this, but anyway, so he was my boyfriend at the time, and like literally the photo that went on the front page,
Was you?
yeah, it was like the paddy wagon and the boyfriend like trying to hold me up, and I'm just kind of like and then because they put both girls and boys in the paddy wagon to arrest us.
Right.
And my grandmother had a long-standing agreement with the Oak Park police. When I'd get arrested as a juvenile, they'd call her and she would say, "Just put her in a cab," and they'd be like, "Okay." So like I just got away with it.
Wasn't the juvenile officer no Park Krupke? I mean, I know it's from the movie
Yeah, and
West
they-
Side Story,
no,
but
they
I think the
didn't
guy's
care.
actually
His name was,
I think
I
the guy's name
remember
was
Krupke.
actually Krupke.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
Officer
something
Krupke!
like
It was,
that.
and
It was. I'm
Well,
telling you.
Krupke was the West Side Story. Krupke was the old
Oak Park,
guy.
yeah.
Well, okay.
So
So that was-
they
yeah,
would
that
come
was
into the
similar.
house because I never went to school then, and then my grandmother would say, "The truant officers," and she'd swear in Italian, and then at me, and I'd go, "Okay, well, it's not my problem. It's your problem. You're the guardian." It's
So
not
how
my
did you get with the Who?
Okay, so I got with the Who. Okay,
Back to
so
music.
Very Who heavy
Back to
back,
music,
to,
episode.
yeah.
back to the music. Okay, so just for disclosure here, Danny D is my
Your sister's
my sister's
godfather.
godfather. Okay, my
I was
younger.
roped into it. No, I was volunteered. Okay, I was 13 years old.
Yeah, you gave this story last week.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway,
Your
so-
mom got you roped
so-
into being the godmother.
Yeah, because she was
Godmother.
friends with my mom. So
Right.
anyway, so,
Italian tradition.
So Danny D was my little sister's godfather. So as we grew up, right, then I found out, I'm like, oh, Danny D is like the head of security at all the concerts. And I was like, I'm such a big music lover since 4th grade, you know? So anyway, so when I got old enough to like, even like 13, I'm calling him. Danny, I want to go see da-da-da. Can you put me on the list? Put me on the list. And he was like, yeah, okay. And so he was constantly, and then sometimes he would not answer the phone, you know, because it was like getting too much, you know, like, and plus I was young, I was a teenager, you know. So anyway, so he was just like, oh, I can't. So I would literally show up at like the Aragon or the Riviera or even the United Center, the Rosemont Horizon back in the day, and I'd be banging on the stage
Guest
door.
list door.
And one of the bouncers would open it and go, yeah, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, tell Danny D that his goddaughter is here. So I always say I stole my sister's godfather. So anyway, so they'd be like, hey, Danny, your goddaughter's here. And I would hear him go, oh God, let her in, just let her in. Like kind of aggravated, you know. But anyway, so he did get me in. So the Who were playing in 1975, 2 nights at the old Chicago Stadium. And I, of course, called Danny ahead of time. I'm like, look, you cannot tell me no. I have to go see. I love the Who. So he was like, all right. You know, I'll get you a pass.
So
you know?
so you get it to go to the show.
I
you
get in the
Who.
show. I'm backstage, and
How old were you?
17, barely 17. So anyway, well, Danny didn't know all that. He just thought I wanted to see a concert.
And,
you know?
and there's a reason now we have a sign at the Rosemont Horizon that says you have to be 18 or older to get
Yes,
backstage.
yes.
Yes.
Well,
that-
yeah.
that was us.
But back
Yes,
in the,
folks.
Yes,
look,
that was us.
we're talking 1975.
All
It
you
was a
mothers
total-
out there.
Yeah,
thank
before
us,
lawyers, 1975,
Yeah,
right?
before-
Yeah, we didn't
before
exist
these
back
two
You
then.
guys
guys,
didn't
yeah.
exist then,
Yeah,
right?
but anyway,
Well,
but
I didn't exist back then.
nobody cared back then. Nobody cared. So anyway, so all right. So what do I now remember? I'm steady getting high already. I'm popping pills. I'm drinking. I'm doing everything. So I had a lot in common with Keith Moon. So anyway, so I go to the first night. And now Danny did not know this the second night. Now he just knew that he was getting me in so I could watch a concert. And I did have all access. I could go backstage. So I'm backstage, and I remember some paparazzis are back there, and I have this really cool picture. It's in the book of me and Roger Daltrey. So, but anyway, so after the concert, because they were staying the night, I started hanging with Keith Moon. Because why? Because we were getting high.
Just hanging with Keith Moon.
Okay,
As
so
one does.
so we're we're
You know.
so I end up going to the
One with the
hotel,
Who.
and you guys could figure out what happened at the hotel. But
Yeah.
but
Really?
now I never knew that. Like I never knew that he was almost 30. You know what I mean? So that would be like, oh my God, right now, right? Like he was like 29 or 30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, who knew? I didn't
And
care.
how old are you? 17.
I was 17. He was like 29 or 30. So
I got 10 years on my life. That's not too bad.
But yeah, it's not,
13.
not when you're a minor, you know. But anyway, nobody cared about that back. It was
Right.
a total different era back then, right? So anyway,
Sure. You
So
weren't born yet.
how long did you end up hanging with the Who?
oh, okay.
I
So I went on
writing
tour
at
with
that
them.
time.
So
See how much we improved
About-
Wait a minute, hang on.
the world for you.
I went on the
Thanks.
at the end of their American tour, and I could have gone on their European tour, but I did not have a passport.
Weeks, months?
6 months.
6
So anyway,
So you're out on the road with the Who for 6 months, and your grandmother is doing what now? I mean, is she praying rosaries every night trying to figure out where the hell you are?
no, this would happen. So the next day, okay, so then the next day, I'm still hanging with Keith. We're doing crazy stuff, and he had to go play that night. And I'm with him, and a lot of viewers may remember this if you were at, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. But he literally paid a Chicago police officer for his uniform, and he had the uniform
He
on.
bought the cop's uniform.
He paid him, and they were like, oh, Keith Moon,
Our
yeah.
finest.
Do you remember that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so you see, I'm not just saying, you know, he.
Sometimes we bought the cops.
Miss,
And-
I worked
and
on behalf of
also-
the Chicago
yeah,
PD.
so-
I never.
but he
It's
actually
a
had-
Chicago
He
tradition.
actually had a badge too. You know, the guy was probably a big fan or something. Whatever. So he comes in now. The promoter, I believe, at that time was Jerry Weintraub. And right, so I have a really good memory. Anyway, so Jerry would not. He wanted to go on stage and play in that, but Jerry would not let him. He said, "No, you
No,
can't."
he didn't want him on the Chicago.
He said no, he did not want him. So anyway, okay, so let me wrap this up. So Keith says to me, hey, after the show, I'm just gonna go home and have fun the night with you, whatever, you know. But he was like, no, come on tour with me. I'm like, well, I don't have any clothes. And he's like, here, we'll take the limo to your house. And I'm like, all right. So we go to where I lived in Oak Park with the limo. My grandmother is swearing in Italian because I'm telling her I'm going on tour with the Who, and she's like, and who is this guy with this long hair? And he's trying to talk to her and be nice, right? And she's like, I don't even understand what you're saying. Where are you from? And where did you find it? And going
Is it
crazy.
a British accent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so then
So you left.
my grandmother was like, you can't go. But I grabbed a backpack and I'm shoving clothes in there, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know when I'll be back. Don't worry about me. I'll call you every other day. You know, I'm fine. You know, she's like, who is the Who? I'm like, Grandma, you know that
I'll
when
give
I
you a
play
Who.
those records that you tell me to turn down all the time and I'm blasting them. Well, that's him. He's the drummer. And she didn't know what was going on, but she knew I went somewhere. So.
And she said,
Oh.
what's that? And you said, no, what's on second? Who's
Yeah.
on
It
first?"
was crazy. But I
No,
literally-
Who closes?
go on
They don't
the
know
road.
if it
Go on
ends.
the road with the Who. You end up coming back at some point. and
Well,
then-
after a month, I guess in another city, he met a cuter, younger, starry-eyed girl, groupie, whatever you want to call
And
it.
traded you in.
And yeah, and then it's like, wait, I was on the plane, now I'm in the roadie bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but as it turned out,
You're lucky
No, I
you were-
get it. I mean,
no, I still stayed on the tour. You know,
I
I mean, so I became the girl that sold the merchandise then. So then I actually got a check from Jerry Weintraub, and so like for selling merch, I was hired then. Like they were, I don't know, they liked me or whatever. And then I ended up having an affair with Roger Daltrey's brother-in-law, Malcolm Taylor, who was the head of his tour person. And for about a year, like the phone bills of me calling London, Essex, England, and him calling, unbelievable.
Before cell phones.
Yeah, right. And my grandmother would be screaming at me, you know, whatever. But anyway,
I
so
know. You don't know what it was before cell phones.
yeah, no, he doesn't.
Life
he
did
he
not
doesn't know.
exist on
But,
this planet.
like
so-
when you went somewhere, you would make a collect call home.
Yeah.
And
Person
say,
to person.
person to person collect call, and they would say, no, they're not here, just to let you know that you
Yeah,
made it
you
there.
made it there.
You made it there.
Yeah.
You
You
made
made it there. It was,
Yeah.
That's
it
what
was
that was the
code.
trick. Yeah, it was the trick for I got here safe.
Or it would just say, like, say your name and be like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
a
real
cough,
quick.
you're getting a collect call from, I'm okay.
All right, so now you got you're done with the Who. You're on the streets. You're getting in trouble.
Well, I
At some
realized
point, you
with the
went
Who,
to the penitentiary for something.
I did 12 years, so
12 years.
Yeah, nonviolent.
Wow.
But let me just finish one more sentence with the Who.
Who did
you
After
piss
so
off?
long, I don't know how my stolen godfather dealt with that industry, because after like almost 6 months, I was just like, what is going on? All this work. And then like crazy, like, you know, and city to city and on the road and the blah blah blah, you know, all this stuff. But one of my biggest regrets is we were in, I think, Cleveland Cleveland, and one of the roadies said, Jerry wants to talk to you. And it was closing up the American side. So I said, okay, where's he at? And they're like, you know, show me where we're at the stadium, you know. And so I said, yeah, what's going on? And he was like, listen, I was thinking, you're a real go-getter with selling the merch. And I was thinking, so my next tour is with Elvis, and when we come through Chicago,
Moon to Elvis.
but when we come through Chicago, I'll call you and you jump on the tour and you sell the merch for Elvis. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so, because I guess I thought that wasn't cool enough for me, and now I regret that so much. I do like Elvis.
All right, so what'd you do 12 years for?
So over a period of 7 different sentences, all for like maybe a gun charge or mostly embezzlement, thefts,
Federal or state?
state. Although the feds chased me around the country for a year, never caught me. Eventually ended up.
The address to where we're filming in case
No. the FBI actually hire me as a keynote speaker now at their national conventions, and so I always joke, like, hey, all you older guys, I'm sorry, I apologize, no, I'm not that person anymore. But anyway, I've been to Quantico to address the cadets and stuff like that. But anyway,
Would you do Pontiac?
But they could be your sons.
yes.
So
Yeah,
you're
Dwight.
gonna
No,
have
you
to
went to
go
Dwight.
There were
kids.
older guys in there that remember.
I'm sorry,
me.
you went to Dwight.
I went to Dwight. I've been to them all. Okay, all the
Okay.
female ones. So there,
Well,
back
back
in
then
the
there
first
was
time I
only
went
one.
was '88. There was only
Yeah,
Dwight.
only
Okay,
Dwight, right.
And then by the time like say 1990 became Logan. So I got out. First of all, I got pregnant in jail, in prison, in Dwight.
That sounds like a lawsuit.
No, I ended up marrying him. Anyway,
Oh,
so
Jeez.
it's all in the book.
Ah, you get pregnant. Come on, penitentiary.
Okay, so
come on.
The
an
romance, the
so
moon
a
in between the prison
correctional
bars.
officer, I got in the broom closet over the
In the broom
slop sink.
closet.
And whatever. I'm not
beats
the
the broom.
person. I am
Sorry,
just.
it's just
I,
it's like
I already had
great
one
potential.
child. My one son, Sean, already. His father was killed. His father was a biker, and then and then move on. So then, when he was 10, I went to prison. My mom
And who raised your son when you were in prison?
So I ended up having 5 kids. They got different family members, and they were
Okay.
getting like, "Could you stop having kids?" You know, I mean, it was crazy because I was too. I guess the good thing that I could realize that you cannot take care of these children, so don't even try. Give them up. You know, just give them up to your family. My last 2 were adopted by non-family members, but my family knew them through Catholic Charities.
So
And I'm good with them now.
I think that's great. But people always say like, okay, now you've gone to penitentiary, you got 5 kids. What happened to the kids? How do the kids turn out?
They're all great. Oh
Good.
my God.
That's
My youngest is a licensed social worker.
Oh, really? You know, as a lefty, okay, I've got to tell you, our birth rate is below 2.2 kids per fertile woman.
Okay.
We are declining
Yeah.
in population. She is doing the American thing, okay? She's doing her
I
thing
don't
for
know
our
how I got
population,
pregnant
okay?
like that on drugs, because usually you don't. But anyway, so '88, I'm in prison in Dwight. I get
Were
pregnant.
any of your kids born with drugs in their system? Did they
3
have
of
a-
them. The first one was not, and the last one was not.
and-
They're all fine.
I know they're all fine. You said that, but like, how did that make you feel?
Horrible.
I would hope.
Of course.
Yeah.
Horrible. Like a real.
But some people are gonna look at it and say, "Well,
POS.
like, well, you didn't stop when the first time that happened. You didn't stop the second
Look
time."
at.
it happened."
Let me just.
And I'm not picking on you.
No,
but-
I know.
Okay.
I
All
never
right.
take offense. No. We're talking. It's
Okay.
fine. And people do think that. So here's the thing. I always say, when a woman starts
Good
getting
chance.
high at 9 years old and continues getting high, never stops, right? Adulthood is not looking good, and motherhood is not looking good. Right?
Right.
So I was an unfit mother, right? And not that I did anything to harm my children or anything I did, but I was harming them by not being there, leaving them with my grandmother, not being around, and then getting high with 3 of my children. The last one was drug free and the first one was drug free. But my
How old
children
were they when you?
No, when she had them, she was.
Oh.
yeah, no, not
She wasn't
mine.
doing
Yeah,
drugs.
I was.
No, I
The comma was in the wrong place.
No,
That's
so
it.
the
Now
first
with
one
my
I
kids.
was
okay.
getting high, and then I got pregnant. But the father who got killed. Anyway, with Sean, my first child, I don't know. I was out in the desert in Arizona. There was nothing going on there. So I was the first mother. I wanted my baby to be healthy. I didn't even smoke cigarettes. So he was fine. I brought him home. I actually kept him till he was like probably in 8th grade or freshman in high school. Because when you're doing all these drugs, you can like, the functional part, like you kind of function, but you're still
Well,
getting
yeah,
high.
I mean, you're functioning.
But then at some point you fall off the planet, which
I mean,
that happened to me.
I had clients that were functioning heroin addicts. They do heroin in the morning. They go to work.
Yeah, right.
They work their 9 to 5
Well,
jobs. They come home and they do heroin
I was
again. And they go to
Keith
bed.
Richards.
I was functioning, but I was my job was I was scamming all these corporations and everything, and it's in the book, And then also, so my children were raised by family, and there was a point where I didn't see anyone in my family for 16 years. The only person that would never give up on me was my Aunt Louise, my father's sister, and still, I'm like the daughter she never wanted because she had 2 boys. I always say I'm the daughter she never wanted, you know. Anyway, she would send me so she wasn't going to enable, even in prison. So whenever I went, she would write me once a week, send me pictures of my kids or family, so I would even be like, oh God, I don't even know what they look like. And then she'd send me $5, just $5 a month. And that was for one big bag of instant coffee so I can have my coffee. And she would tell me, you're on your own on the cream, okay? So
when did you get clean? Did you get clean after your penitentiary? Did you come back out and start using again?
came right back out and
started using
because
it?
there's no resources. So, and you already know this as a defense attorney. People get out, they don't know what to do, where to go, what happens, you know. So they get out, and so you're going to go back to the only thing you know, even if you think you're going to try.
So when did you get clean? How did you?
My father died in January of 2011. I don't know if this has anything to do. I'm spiritual. I'm not big on religion, but I do believe in God, and so my father died, and I wasn't particularly like real close with him, but I love him. That's my father. So he died. I knew I was getting out in August of 2011. I had been locked up since 2010, May 8th, 2010. That's the last time I got high. So, because I'm in prison now. And at some point, Illinois took their prisons back, so we couldn't even get drugs in there anymore. So anyway, or do other things. But anyhow, so what happened was I got out, and I promised God that if he would take the taste of the heroin and the streets from my mouth, that until my last dying breath, I will help people. I got out, and I thought, you know, let me at least try, you know. So I went into a program called A Safe Haven. You're probably familiar with that name, and I stayed there, and I stayed there for almost a year because you cannot overcome 36 years of drug abuse and gang affiliation. I've been shot, you know. I mean, like
that doesn't happen in a 28-day program.
No way. So I was already clean because I had been in prison. So I went there. I stayed there. I was reluctant in the beginning. Like, everyone has to have a job, and they were like, okay, you have to, every night at 8 p.m. you have to go wash this one window in the office with Windex and paper towel. I'm like, okay. And then I wouldn't go. And then the case manager would come looking for me. I'd be in the day room watching TV, and she'd be like, are you supposed to be somewhere? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Why? Where am I supposed to be? You know? And I'm watching a movie, and she'd be like, okay, so how do you want to put your stuff? What do you want, plastic or paper? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, to pack your stuff. Do you want it in plastic or paper? And she's like, you have to do your assignment. And I'm like, oh my God, no. Because I thought, you're going to go live in the abandoned buildings again? You know, no. I'm like, where's the Windex? Where's the paper towels? You know? So I didn't realize it then, but what they were doing is teaching me responsibility of to be at one place at a specific time and do one thing. So
Focusing.
yeah, right. So it was very good.
All right,
So-
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Let me ask you, I'm going to jump ahead because we only have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
How did you get into violence interrupting, and what is it?
Okay, so it's intervening in potential violent conflicts, and anything can lead to, you know.
Is it between two people, two gangs?
Well, it's usually two here, or one and two. It just depends. So.
How do you find out about it?
Okay, so here's what happened. Well, I'll tell you that. But so I'm taking the bus at Safe Haven as a resident, going to like a meeting or something, and then I would see guys I don't even know, you know, and like on the corner, young guys, and I could, because I come from that life, I could see that something was sparking, and I would literally get off the bus and go on the corner and go, look, I know you don't know me, I'm not the police, look, blah, 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 blah. Like,
really?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got, you know, big ones down there. Anyway, so, anyway, yeah, I have no fear for my own good. Anyway, so, and I don't know if they found it entertaining when I would be like, hey, I used to be you.
Because you're a woman? Do you think that
No,
helped?
it's because.
If you were a dude, if you looked like him with a goatee and you jumped off the bus and said, what are you guys doing?
They're gonna think you're the police and go. So you got nothing.
Well, there were times when I would have to go into the Robert Taylor homes and stuff, and the first
For
thing
clients.
you do, first thing
But
you
they
do is
knew
you walk
but
up,
they-
you walk up and you go, hey, I'm working,
I'm a
a
defense
lawyer,
lawyer. They like you.
I need permission to go upstairs and talk, and they go, yeah, go ahead. I mean, but if you didn't ask for permission,
But
you probably wouldn't have a
we
car
all
when you got
we
out.
all like defense lawyers. We might need you, you know.
And it
So
didn't matter which side you were on. Like
No.
you could be representing, you know,
it doesn't
the
matter.
vice lord, and you know,
It
the
didn't
Latin
matter.
kings did
You're
right. I
a
was like,
defense
okay.
attorney. I
Right.
might need you. You got a
Right.
green light, a green card to go
Yeah.
anywhere you want.
Angelina,
anywhere.
were you a blood or a crypt or none?
There's no blood and
No, I was a Latin queen,
You
Latin
were a Latin
king.
queen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although in my book,
So they call it queen, not a
But-
king,
oh, yeah.
right?
Queen.
Even
So-
though it's the kings is the name
Latin
of the game.
king, but I.
You were a
so
queen.
Let me just
Are there any
clarify.
princesses?
And what
Back,
they
no, there's no.
Baronesses,
No,
countesses?
nothing. No. So back in the day,
Like
there
them.
were legit, actual Latin queens that went to the meetings, had to pay dues, heard a
You
lot.
paid dues.
Oh God,
It's like an HOA.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so
She'll
that,
tell you, but gangs then were
We're
not
different
what they
than
are
they are
now.
today.
Okay,
There's no more
they
gangs.
Had
There are a
dues,
bunch
they
of
had
cliques.
elections, they had officers, they
yeah,
had
we had
sweaters. You
elections.
had a sweater.
I do.
See, she
I
has
even
sweater.
got I got my own
Holy
t-shirts.
moly.
Oh, she got
So
a Latin
somehow
sweater.
Aunt Louise saved all my stuff in boxes and they gave it to me.
Like a cheerleader's
Yeah,
basket.
yeah, I
It
got-
was literally like
sweater.
those old 50s
Yeah,
like letterman
yeah.
sweaters that they
Yeah,
used to wear
yeah,
in the 50s
yeah.
high schools.
I got
Yeah.
one.
Wow,
Black and
shades
gold.
of Archie.
Black and
Yeah.
gold, and I got my Queen T-shirts and Amor de Rey. Anyway,
They-
so but here's
they
the
were
thing
rich than
now.
us.
Somewhere in the '90s, I believe. So there are no more Latin queens. So whoever's listening to this, if your baby daddy or your boyfriend is a Latin king, then you're his lady, okay?
And that's it.
But you're
out
not a
of
Latin
luck.
queen, okay? You could rep it. I mean, nobody's gonna stop you. But here's the thing. In the '90s, I think towards the mid '90s, a queen back then they were still having it like an official title, and flipped right on one of the brothers or two of them or something. So at that point, they were like, "That's it, no more." So women cannot go to the meetings
No
or
more
anything.
women in the game.
No,
they
well,
flipped them.
But the good news
Well-
is like even though I have this teardrop on my lap
Misogyny.
No, but
And it's
and a
worse.
crown on my hand,
but here's the other thing too.
Even amongst them.
They started using the federal RICO laws against the street gangs
Yeah.
after they were done with the mobsters. Okay.
then they went
And
after
the
the
federal
gangs,
and the
yeah.
federal street gang and the RICO laws are pretty tough. Okay.
And they put all the
so
leaders on
so it was
influence.
yeah, but it was real simple. It was like if you got busted and you were a mid to low level guy and you're looking at 8 to 10 to 12,
to 20.
you almost had a flip. Okay, to get out of your sentence. Okay,
They flip more now than my day.
they wanted the higher ups.
The higher
So the
up.
lower guys were all flipping.
That's
Okay.
like
I
everyone
never
in
went-
the
it was
enterprise
almost
responsible.
like you had to.
I never flipped. I took my time.
There's a lot of guys that did, man. I had a death penalty case where the guy there was a third shooter involved, and he never gave the guy up, even though he was looking at
Yeah,
the
I
death
know
penalty.
people
And they
like
told
that.
us, they go, listen, we'll take the death penalty off the table if you tell us who the third guy was.
Yeah, and now
never
it's
gave
just
him up.
life now.
Never gave
yeah.
him up.
Yeah, I know people
So,
like
and there are
that
guys
too.
who are like, yeah, where do I make my profit? Let's go. I'll give you whatever you want, because they were like, I'm
Well,
not staying in
death and
jail.
life are the same. I'd actually like the needle better because otherwise you got to spend 70 years in there. So anyway, I've been interrogated by the best at the old Holman, Notorious, where they beat everybody up. But I didn't get beat up because I'm a girl. But they were showing me pictures of like murder victims and.
So in your current job as violence interrupter, hold on a second. Do you get paid?
Yes,
Who
so
pays you?
I was working for a program called Ceasefire, and
Okay.
it was state funded, and then it went to Cure Violence, and then they left the university.
Can Musk get involved in this?
No, they're not even working in Illinois anymore. So
We want to know if it's going to be gone
so
tomorrow.
when I got out of
Okay.
prison and was in Safe Haven, taking the bus to a meeting, and I did that with the guys. I stopped and said, "Hey." Then a man walked up, with an orange jacket, and was like, "Hey, do you know these guys?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't know." He's like, "You guys are all laughing." And I'm like, "Well, I guess we're friends now." And he's like, "Hey, can you walk with me, sister?" And I'm like, "Sure." And we walked away. His name J.W. Hughes. I love you. And he like believed in me. He was like, "Listen, so what are you telling them?" And I told him, and he said, "So you're like actually mediating a conflict?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Do you want a job? It pays $15 an hour. It's a violence interrupter." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Okay." I didn't even know what the
minimum
hell.
wage even.
I didn't know what that meant, but whatever. I guess they'll explain it.
Beats me. McDonald's, really.
Well, and then
It's called
Probably
hazard
safer,
pay.
too.
but he gave me a chance, right? And he believed in me. And then I started learning more, and I started like excelling to where then I became the supervisor, then the program manager, then I got promoted to the headquarters.
Well, do you guys have like pagers, or how do you know to call in each other or whatever?
So, well,
Is there a
so there were
central
like
office?
17 different,
Like a foot
yeah,
patrol?
UIC, we had the central main headquarters, but that's not the,
UIC, you mean the university?
yeah, it was housed.
My alma mater.
It
Oh
was
my God.
housed in the School of Public Health anyway, but there were 17 community sites, right, set up in different areas of Chicago, south, north, west, east, whatever. And so they were like Apache.
So
we're like
Ceasefire organizes this.
they're not no more,
They
but that's
just
where I
fund it.
started.
Okay.
No, the state funded
The
it.
state funded
Your
it.
tax
Right.
money, yeah, your tax money. Thank you. So anyway, and then, well, I mean, hey.
Did it work for you guys? You conservative
No,
guys?
but
Did
let me
that
just tell
I
you
don't know.
something.
Did it
work?
Did it work?
Okay.
In one,
Did it work?
let me tell you something.
Yeah.
In 1 year, we mediated. So last year, I'm going to tell you this is a fact. So there were 610 gun
Right.
killings, 610 last year, down only 6% from the year before. Right. Now this I'm talking current. But
Right.
back when I was like actively like, you know, I obviously moved up. I became data and doing all this other stuff and going to Springfield and compliance reporting and year end and all that
Right.
stuff. But while I was doing that, so I could say that my team that I was over in 1 year, we mediated over, I think it was like 660 conflicts that otherwise would have turned to gun violence, injury, and or death.
So let me ask you,
So that's
Well,
600
how
and
would you
something lives that we
Potential,
saved.
sure.
how would you go about mitigating the proliferation of guns?
Well, and the new
How would you stop the spread of it?
Okay, and thanks for saying the spread of it, because
Okay.
violence is, if it's all the criteria for an infectious disease. Because if I become violent, or I see my kids see it, then you're my kid, you might.
So you can become violent with
So
a
it-
baseball bat or a gun. We're talking
It sounds
about
like
matter.
it's a problem with
I'm
the
cur-
individual, and you're mediating the behavior
If you-
and
if
trying
you-
to like
if you-
talk to
if
them.
you
No,
experience-
not like inherently.
Just like if
but
you're
like
if
it's
you're watching
behavior.
your mother smoke cigarettes, you're gonna
Sure.
probably smoke cigarettes. So
Right.
if you're watching and you're growing up in a household with a lot of guns laying around and all this stuff going on back in the day, then likely that's what your mentor, you know. But anyway,
Well, but
so
she'll tell you there. I mean, I'm sure when you were a Latin queen, I mean, there were kids that were 3, 4,
My own
5
kid
years
was with
old,
me, Sean.
and
I'd buy
they're
him a
growing
Happy
up in the
Meal.
game lifestyle. That's what they grow up in.
So
That's
how do
all
you
they
stop
know.
That's
that?
that's our well.
well,
I'm asking you guys who
Okay, so I'm
who are
telling.
proponents of the
Okay,
Second
so
Amendment.
here-
How do you control the damn Second Amendment?
So
How
as
do you
They don't.
keep Sandy Hook from happening?
Okay,
How
so-
do you
so
keep those
school-
kids from
mass
getting
school
killed in
shootings
Florida?
are-
Problems the
Totally
individuals
di-
are
You
from.
don't? You just say,
Hey,
hey,
you hear what you just said?
Mass
Listen to
school
what you just said.
shootings are totally different from individual interpersonal
why? Don't they have
violence.
guns?
They do, but this
Is that the similarity?
Yeah,
No,
Hitler drank
no.
water, Dad.
Listen,
Come on.
Okay,
listen.
yeah, milk too.
No,
Dina,
let me just say this.
Okay,
Gun
yeah.
drink
control,
coffee.
gun control and gun violence are two completely different things. Okay? They have two completely different definitions. A lot of people, hold on, a lot of people will say, no, I'm just saying, and he'll agree and you'll agree, a lot of people
Of course, you're
I
on
know
that
I
side
like
of the table.
no, because I'm gonna hit them if they don't. Anyway, no, but here's the
That's
thing.
what this is about. when
Illinois-
we leave here, we're
Illi-
going to start punching each other. No.
Go
out
ahead.
of the strictest gun laws
Yeah.
in the country, right here, Illinois, okay? In 2022 and 2023, they signed a bill, the governor, to ban assault weapons, and then the switches. You know?
Excuse me, stop right there.
What?
Stop right there. I don't want to hear this about Illinois because we have Gary, Indiana, 20 minutes
I'm
away.
getting there, right? I'm
Okay,
getting there.
20
You go on
so
that.
unless it's the United States
Right.
and we harden
Yeah.
the borders,
No, I'm getting there. We're surrounded by
There's no issue there.
lax
I'm
gun laws.
not
but
sure I
just
get your point.
because
you can get guns all
go
you
to
want in
Indiana, they
Gary.
go-
Of course
Missouri.
you can.
yeah.
Well,
course
so
you
you
can.
can outlaw them
What
in
is it
Illinois all you want.
No.
As long as you can buy them in Gary,
Well,
who cares?
you can try to outlaw them in Illinois, and Pritzker signed a ban on
He-
AKs.
that's my
and
point.
And
He-
it was ruled unconstitutional
And then
Yeah.
because
he-
you can't do it.
Then
Bump stocks ruled unconstitutional.
Because Scalia was a Sicilian. That's why.
Okay,
Oh,
do you
And his
Okay.
best friend was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay,
Do you
Come on.
know what
No,
a
they
switch
just
is?
went for lunch together.
Okay, do you know
And he
what,
always wanted to see
Danny,
what the
do
Jews
you know
were
what a
about.
switch is?
What?
A switch, you know what that is?
What do you mean
The gun, for the gun.
Oh no, I
Okay,
was talking
so
about
a
my
switch,
grandson's
now listen, last year,
switch. Okay,
no, a switch is a little piece that you
Yeah.
put on the gun by the firing pin.
So
A
that it
regular,
makes
say
it
I had a
an
32 Beretta,
automatic.
and then I could put an extended clip in, and then just pull it in seconds. It's like
Yeah, it's like a bump
80,
stock.
80, it turns into a machine gun. Okay,
Right.
Kind of it.
Which
So
are outlawed.
they outlawed
Well,
that last year. Last year.
Well, machine guns have been outlawed for quite a long
So
time.
But-
under
but
the
that-
National
so
Defense
when they
Act,
tell you
the
it's a
switch
s-
itself is the machine gun technically.
Right.
because it
Exactly. That's
enables
the little
automatic
piece.
fire.
Now listen, this is really important because that's the little piece that you put that they themselves illegal guns, that they put in where the fire piece or
Yeah,
pin
the-
is.
Yeah, on the side.
And they make it into it. So okay, so did that work? No. That making them illegal did not work.
So
right?
what's gonna
So
work?
Now it's harder.
What do you want to work? Here's my question. What do you want to work?
I don't want kids getting killed.
Nobody does.
Well, what's
Okay.
gonna work?
Behavior
I
change.
got a way to
Public
work.
health.
I got a way to
approach.
mitigate it. You want to hear
A public health approach for behavior change.
it? Public health
Approach to violent people. I'm telling you the
They
truth.
can't even get a law passed to see if a guy is mentally sane enough to buy a gun or to get an FOID
Well, that's
card.
on the-
Okay, you got to get
yeah.
a test
Oh,
on
you
to
want to
get a
pass a
driver's license.
constitutional amendment?
No,
That will be easy.
Again, there's two different things. So
Wait,
first, the gun control is only affecting legal
So
gun
throw
owners.
your hands up. It ain't easy.
Thank-
No. First of all,
Let those kids die.
You and I
Let me
did
tell
this-
you what a Rambo would do.
And then
I've listened to
the
her.
innocent
Okay,
bystander.
now it's my stage.
Okay.
This is what a Rambo would do. A guy my age who served in Vietnam and was a sharpshooter, okay?
A gunner.
A guy who would snipe, okay?
Okay.
You can go out and buy a Barrett, I think it's called, BARAT, bullpup, 50 caliber sniper rifle. Legal to buy. All you have to do is the FOID card, right?
In Illinois,
It-
it depends on the state.
It's a 50 caliber that is accurate up to 1.2 miles with a scope.
Where are you going?
Okay, so where I'm going is this. If I was Rambo and I retired from the army and my kids got killed by some guy who had a spree of shooting,
Yeah.
I would take it out on every guy who ever put anything on social media to protect the Second Amendment. I
Well,
would become
okay,
Rambo.
okay,
I would
Danny.
start picking off the
That's
guy
Danny.
from.
Absurd.
Danny,
What?
that's absurd. Okay, I'm gonna tell
I
you
know
why.
it's absurd.
It's
But
absurd.
that's
So
what
you-
mental illness is.
No, okay,
It's
well,
absurdity.
if you're
But
trying
the
to talk
problem
about
is the mentally ill.
if you're trying to talk about honest change to a problem or approaching a problem, that your example is absurd. There are anywhere between 15 and 45 million AR weapons sold in the United States
Yeah.
out there.
It's
Okay,
not accounting for
How-
about 200 million handguns, which account for about 80% of the violent crime.
Okay, so the
And they
fact of the
only
matter
confiscated
is you
1,500
talked about
guns.
Sandy Hook and these and the guy that just pled in Waukegan over there or whatever
Right.
it was, that shot up the Highland Park 4th of July parade. Okay, those are anomalies. Those don't
How
happen.
many don't? How many
If
anomalies
you
does it
take
take to
it,
become a
that's
terrorist?
planned and specific.
It's planned, true, but it's also if you take the number of guns in relation to those people that have committed those types of crimes, it's about 0.0000001% of the people that own those types of weapons cause that type of harm. Okay.
Okay,
It's
that's
also
like
the
saying the
parents who are
people
allowing to
that
give them
illegally
guns.
come
Exactly.
across the
There's
southern
a lot of
border
layers.
So what she
0.001%
said was real.
criminals.
I agree with Angela and Julian wholeheartedly. What she said is you have to change the way you raise your children.
Right.
You have
Oh,
to
that's
change the-
easy.
No, well,
No,
guess
not for
what?
some people.
It's not for some people, but
That's
that is.
sarcasm.
But
No, I know,
the
yeah.
fact of the matter is owning a gun
I'm like,
is,
oh, yeah.
is a right under the Constitution. Okay, and you're not going to ban people from owning guns. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, it can't. If you want to change the Constitution, you know how to do that.
Yeah,
Propose an amendment.
2/3,
My kids,
gotcha.
and I remember when my kids
3/4
were
of the ratification
Yeah,
of the
ratification.
states.
Okay,
Yeah.
I remember when my kids were in school and one of these events came up and they all walked around in orange t-shirts to protest because hunters wear orange t-shirts so you don't get shot if you wear orange, right? So I went to them and I said, well, did your teacher go back and talk to you about gun control and the Constitution and how to change it? And they went, oh no, we didn't talk about any of that.
So they don't even know why they're wearing that orange.
Exactly the
Yeah.
point. They don't even know. All they had, they went out there and protested, and then they came back without any discussion about how to really change. What is the problem?
Because we have a 260-year-old problem with change. Okay.
About the Constitution?
Yeah, there's a problem. You know what the problem is? There's no provision for binding referendum. It's not outlawed, there's just no provision for it. So if you want to have a binding referendum, you have to have another amendment to the Constitution. It has to be the 28th Amendment.
This was discussed in the Federalist Papers. I think
Right.
it was James Madison said that.
Right, he said most people are too
Yeah,
stupid.
no,
His line was, if
I know what
every
you're talking
Athenian
about.
had been Socrates, every Senate still would have devolved into a mob.
Oh,
You don't want democracy.
That's
A
exactly
lot
the
of those
point.
things from back
People
People think that there's
Are still
democracy
relevant
just
today.
like they think there's freedom of speech. Those are both illusions.
We're the pedantic jerks who say, well, it's a constitutional republic, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's,
Which it is.
it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
representative
pedantic
democracy.
Right.
Sure.
But
It
when
is.
Bernie says it's a social democracy, you guys flip out. Okay.
Well, I mean, but
I don't
Do you know what a
Say that, but all
PhD?
right.
staying on the topic of gun and gun
Yeah.
and gun reform, you will find that.
We do really need gun reform.
But to what? To how?
No,
What?
no,
What?
no, no.
What?
With people in high risk street activity, involved in high risk street activity. I'm not talking about
Sure.
taking away from the legal people.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know-
are
you
you
know-
finding now? Are you
like
finding
those
now that a
guns-
lot of the gun violence that's happening in the streets where you see it,
They got switches and they got ghost
but
guns.
they're also the kids are getting younger and younger.
And a lot of innocent bystanders are getting killed. And
Yeah,
they're getting
back in the
younger
day, there was
they
a
got
code.
the target. You didn't even
Oh,
know you got
come
killed.
on.
Back in
Yes.
the day, there
Oh,
was.
yes.
She'll tell you.
If
I
you
was hoping you should
I
say
wasn't
it.
a
I don't know how I
Latin
feel
queen.
about
I
this.
wasn't a Latin
Listen,
queen.
in
Ask her. She'll tell you.
in the early '80s, okay,
There was a code.
in Humble Park, some guy, like I've never done
1980,
anything violent.
Boomtown Rats. I don't
Okay.
like
Okay,
Mondays.
so what I'm saying is, a man was
16-year-old
chosen, one of the brothers
Spencer shoots
was
12
chosen to
kids.
go do a hit.
Well, listen, will you
So
listen
he
to
went to go do the hit, and he missed, and he shot a woman, a young woman who was pregnant, and he killed her.
Yeah.
Okay, when he came back to the block,
Oh,
this is
wow.
how we dealt with it back then, or they. I wasn't a part of that part, But so the brothers, the Kings, said, "Look, you got two choices. We're gonna deal with you," which they probably would have beat him till he died, or we're not gonna tell on you, but you turn yourself in. You could turn yourself in or take the wrath from us. So that individual, way back when, said, "I'll turn myself in." He turned himself in, and as of today, he's still serving life in prison.
Those
He's
are
not
all
gone.
nice anecdotal stories.
Well,
they
that's
have
great,
nothing
but I'm
to
saying-
do
but
with
now there's
prevention
nothing.
of the future
So when
problem.
I go on the block, I'm like, okay, baby.
What is your plan? I'll give you a plan, all right? You are the one who brought up responsibility, right? People have to be accountable.
They
I think I
have-
said discipline. I think you
Okay,
guys said
oh, well,
responsibility.
some lawyer
They
here
have
brought
none.
up accountability.
Yeah.
That's your shtick. All right, let's make you accountable then.
isn't life
Freedoms
accountability?
have a cost.
Sure.
All
Yes.
freedoms have a cost. So put your taxes to work. That's the cost, okay? If you want to have school children safe and you want to have all types of guns available to you at will, okay, unfettered access to ammunition and guns, then you need to have some way of protecting those kids whilst they're in school.
And they cut all the funding of mental health.
No, forget mental health. Because you're never
Talking
going to
about
get.
children.
I don't care. You're never going to get everybody to say you're crazy. Go get help. Okay, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
All right.
the
So
drug addict.
let's just end this mental health stuff because that's a bullshit
Armed
answer.
security at schools? Is that what we're heading towards? I'm
having
fine with
done
that.
having done involuntary commitments, it's very hard to get someone with a mental health issue committed. It's,
Well, yeah.
it's almost.
Well, do you
near
want to know the
impossible.
definition from a social worker? Of
Not
change?
really. I want to hear you finish your point.
All right, I'll give you my point. You interrupted me, and I was going to finish your
Okay.
point. But whatever. All right. You're arguing with a Sicilian.
I say you could stay up there with Trump
Yeah,
doing the
I'm
weave,
so
daddy.
sorry.
That's the most
Are
Trump-like
you?
quality you have. You should weave.
It's a Sicilian thing. Okay. Anyway, did you ever see Princess Bride?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so put our tax
What I was
dollars
saying
to
is
what you
got to do is
what,
you got to
school safe?
let's take a school that has 500 to 1,000 kids in it, right?
Right.
You need a safe room. You need a room that cannot be, a room that's impregnable. Or you need a
Like the panic room.
Like a panic room. You need a
For a
person
1,000 kids.
in there. That person doesn't necessarily have to be armed, but he should be armed. Okay, that person should have a set of monitors. Okay, that person should have. That school should have cameras,
3 on each
closed
side.
circuit cameras, available at every corridor at both ends. So it can't be obscured at one end and shut off, okay? It also should have access, if the campus is big, you should have access to drones. So that at least one drone, maybe two, so that you can fly the campus and see what's happening in the parking lot.
The perimeter.
There should be a second officer. That second officer is outside that room and roaming the campus with a radio. That radio goes to that room. Now those two officers, that's all you need for that day, for a 500 to 1,000 person campus, okay? They can conceivably take care of most problems. They're $45,000 a year minimum take-home pay. That means they're $62,000 to $70,000 a year with benefits, workers' compensation, unemployment,
Retirement.
all
And,
that
and
other
if you're
stuff.
talking
Payroll
about
tax.
if you're talking
So
about state tax
two-
dollars, campus security,
Yeah,
I'm fine with it. I think your specifics.
yeah.
We don't need
Three
exactly
safe
that
rooms
system on
on
every
every
single.
hall.
And maybe different schools, different environments call for different things. But yeah, if you want to spend tax dollars on
but now,
school security, I'm fine
but
with it.
Yeah.
as 4 years ago, there are many communities throughout the country that wanted to get rid of police officers in the school. They didn't want them there. They were intimidating.
Well, they
the
didn't want
police
the-
are the police are
How
bad.
can you learn if someone has a gun in the
Yeah,
front
the
door?
Yeah,
police
yeah.
are
They didn't
bad.
want that,
They beat up and kill the black
Well,
men.
then you
They
gotta
beat
get
up and
past
kill up,
that.
and they.
If they don't want 'em, they don't
wait a
want 'em.
minute. Well,
Okay, I mean, it's up to them.
But you just coyly put past. Well, we got to get past that. There is a block of people out there that don't
They
want
don't
to
want
get.
that.
There's
they
a
don't
block
wanna
of
get-
people
they don't
that
want-
want to die of polio
Battle
too,
the
and they don't want the vaccination.
They
Let them
don't-
die.
they don't
I don't
want
care.
it.
Because
want
they
it.
don't speak for everyone in the
They
school
don't.
necessarily,
Benny,
though, too.
you
So that's a
know,
problem.
you know from our experience in the concert business
Yeah.
that one of the biggest expenses with the littlest return is paying for security.
Yes.
How many bails?
Nobody wants to pay for
How many
security.
bails did we get in with promoters where we wanted 200 and they wanted 125, and we were telling them we can't do it with 125,
Right.
and they didn't want to pay it because when they pay that, they get nothing back out of it.
It
There's
doesn't
no
produce
return.
money for
Exactly.
them.
There's no there, and it's the same thing with providing security in schools.
Yes.
Even
Okay.
if you
The
could-
taxpayers don't want to pay for that because they get nothing back out
And
of it.
I'm saying it's
But when there's a
accountability.
mass,
You
when
want
there's
the
a mass
guns.
shooting, the
You
taxpayers
want
pay a lot of money
you
because
want
of that.
access to guns. You want
Prison for life for
free and
person.
unfettered possession of firearms. Then you need to be accountable for how you protect kids. And if that accountability
Yeah, I
is
agree
going to
with
cost you
protecting
I don't have
taxes,
a problem protecting
Yeah.
the kids at
then it
school.
costs you taxes.
I don't have a
Okay.
problem with that.
Well, then
I
Well, I don't see anybody going for it. I don't see any of these schools protected. None of them.
because
I
it's,
went to Lake Park. We always had a cop on campus.
They always
Armed
have
cop, standing
they
at the
have
front, usually patrolling around
most
the
schools
hallways.
have a resource officer.
What happened in that
armed-
Texas
Those
school?
resource officers don't do anything.
Well,
Uvalde,
they do,
was
it
it?
depends.
What happened in Uvalde?
The guy ran. The old
We
retired
had
guy ran.
one
Yeah.
guy.
Right. But
I'm saying you can't do it with
But
one
did
guy.
they, but in a town like
Sure.
Uvalde, where they don't have a whole lot of crime and they didn't have a whole lot of issues, do they need to have a lockdown system like that?
Well, they
Okay.
need to have
Obviously, you-
subsidies from the state, like Texas isn't a rich enough state to subsidize that little town, so that they could have. You need 2 full-time guys, and you need at least one, maybe
I
2
know.
part-time guys, because you have stuff on the weekends. You have guys that get sick, have to be replaced. You have to have at least.
I know a small
2 part-time.
parochial school on the south side that
It's going to cost $200,000 to $250,000 a year.
$100,000 a year for one guard for
Right.
their school
Okay,
of
but-
about
but if
80
the
kids.
if the-
Right.
About 80 kids.
But when
Right.
a mass shooting
That's a lot of money.
happens there, the
Yeah.
taxpayers
But
are
that's-
paying millions and millions of dollars because not only for the trial, because the person's not going to be able to afford a lawyer, the court costs, the police activity that's going on, then the person is likely going to get life. So the taxpayer has to, the tax base is going to pay to feed him, clothe him,
$3,800 a month to support
Right,
somebody
exactly,
in jail.
right. So,
They actually
so
figured
if
it
you
out.
add
It's-
that up,
It's
even
more
just for
expensive
one,
to try
just-
to execute them than it is to just give them life.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
And we
I
don't
agree
have
with Danny because if you're saying
Yeah,
a
I
quarter
think we all
million,
are.
and then you could prevent that mass shooting, because if the one mass shooting happens, the tax base is going to be hit with millions because of the support of, because the person is going to go to jail, and unless they kill him, but the thing is, and the trauma of the children that likely
Forever.
will be in trauma therapy for years and years.
So
So
what you're
there's a lot
saying-
of cost.
What
And
you're
the contract-
saying, if I can summarize, is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
Which I agree. I think that part of the problem, not that again, I've said many times, I agree with Dan. I'm okay spending more tax dollars on security, but my problem is that
If it'll save a child, I'll do it. I don't care.
that's what I was getting to. Playing defense is always harder. If someone's actually committed to hurting people, they're going to find the softest targets.
Okay,
My thing is, why should that be the school that's full of children? If we want to harden that target, so
Okay.
and maybe someone will have a school shooting like we had in Park Ridge. Was it Park Ridge where it was a
Parkland.
memorial
I
day
actually
for-
interviewed the
Parkland.
Parkland high school kids on
Yeah.
TV. I was the interviewer, and
Was that the one
my
that said a
heart-
parade though?
in South Beach? No, Highland Park.
Highland
on
Park.
Fourth-
Sorry.
4th of July.
I'm thinking Highland Park. They'll wait
Okay.
for a parade. They'll
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some people who are messed up. These bad things are going to happen. But yeah, let's harden the schools so that the best,
And
easiest
here's
target
another
isn't all
possible-
the children.
Look, you
Would you,
guys are
would,
lawyers.
you, would you be for teachers carrying guns? If
Oh,
they
hell
wanted to?
no.
No.
If they wanted
Worst,
to?
No.
worst idea in the
No,
world.
because you're
Okay.
making an example for children that it's okay.
No.
But here's a solution.
Would you
Here's
give
a-
my wife a
Okay.
gun?
So-
Wait, hang on a
She's a
second,
teacher.
hang on a second,
Would
hang
you
on a
give her a gun?
Hang on a second.
She'd shoot
you
me.
Said you didn't want a teacher to have a gun because it would be showing an example to the kids.
Yeah, like
But to be a responsible gun owner, that it's okay to be
well,
a responsible gun owner.
the teacher
That-
doesn't have that amount of time with the child like a parent would be able to
It has nothing
explain.
to do with her having a
Like-
gun. Here's the
No,
reasons
Oh, no,
why.
I
That's
think
not-
that's a strong argument. I
My
don't think.
son-in-law is a police
I wanted to
officer. He
disambiguate.
explains to his children.
Yeah,
I
get
don't
all
think the proposal is you give each teacher a gun. It is
No, I'm saying if they
you
want
are
to.
if you have a
If you
concealed
want to be
carry
armed.
permit, if you want to be a gun,
The
you're
janitor
generally
wants
allowed
to
by
be
gun, or
armed.
can you bring it with you?
Okay.
No.
Cut
If
down
the-
on your security
If the
costs.
janitor has a concealed carry permit and he is a gun owner
Okay, what
already,
about this
why
for an
can't
idea?
he bring it with?
Why
Okay,
can't he
how
bring
about
it?
Well,
these-
which is a bit different than handing your wife a gun.
Can
Okay.
each school hire
Okay, here.
one person, real quick, one person, because in every case that we've, and you guys are lawyers and you're real smart, and no, Dan, you are. So anyway, but you read and you know whatever. So what? Hire 1 to 2 people. Doesn't even be a lot of money. All day, Monday through Friday, and all they do is, so if there's 1,000 kids, they look on 1,000 different accounts on social media. Because in every case that we've seen with mass shootings, school shootings, the after effect
They
comes out
projected
where
it
they were like,
in-
wow, this guy was talking about this a month ago or 2 months ago, giving signs or
It's a meme. It's the
they're gonna
FBI's like he was on our
they're gonna
radar.
remember my name or
That-
tomorrow. Now,
they're-
if there was somebody in these schools, like the police department, Chicago Police, have whole departments of that's all they do is watch social media.
Right.
You know, and you ask how I find out about things ahead of time to stop it
Yeah.
proactively because I have street cred and relationships with these high
So
risk
you're on
people.
your phone
No,
looking at social
I
media?
look at
or
social
you're on your
media and I get
laptop?
the feeling, yeah, and I call or go there. But also, a lot of these guys will, or their baby mamas will call me and say, look at, I think that, like, can you come and like talk to him? I mean, he's like crazy, he's drunk, he went to whatever, And so that's how I find out if if I get a call and it's like, I don't really know that sector too well. I'll call one of my colleagues. Hey, you know the guys over on da da da. Yeah, I'm like, okay, can you? And then they do. So we work collectively, right? It's a team. It's not just me, And I'm like, now I just do it out of my heart. That's not how I make my money anymore.
But,
But-
listen, the adage has always been that a criminal doesn't care about the law.
No.
He doesn't care about.
I know that.
Okay,
And
so
then
what?
no
but-
bail made crime legal. Just like
Yeah.
throw that out there.
But the other thing too is there are so many responsible gun owners out there that they're the ones that always come under attack. They're the ones that always say like, well, why do you need those types of guns, or why do you do it? If I am a responsible gun owner, then why are you looking at me? I'm not your problem.
Yeah.
I'm not your problem.
So you're not going to
Okay.
go buy your eight.
Because
eight-
Nobody-
I might have 7 of them in my house for anybody, and he knows that doesn't mean I'm going on the
can
rooftop.
read your mind. Nobody can tell whether you are not a problem now, but tomorrow you will be. when you're triggered. No one. There is
That's
no
the
super
defense
ego
lawyer
guy.
edge.
No Freud
Everybody
can
can-
come here and give you some
Yes.
kind of a 12-page quiz and say you're solid. You can have an M16. You could have a rocket launcher. Okay, what is,
those are
what
Right,
is-
that's why the government doesn't have the
They're
power to make those decisions.
yeah,
Right.
Where did Scalia stop? Did he stop at an M1 tank? They asked him where do you stop the private person owning a firearm? And
Private persons can own nukes. It doesn't matter.
Can-
Okay, let's go.
they can own a nuke.
The private corporations can. Who do you think's making them?
Well,
Raytheon,
they can
Northrop
own a
Grumman.
nuke.
When you apply as an individual for a NFA license, there's a field on there for explosive ordinances. Yeah.
That's a bit of an
Who do you
explosive
think's
word.
been-
What do you
Yeah,
think
They're-
pyrotech guys have?
Who do you?
They only have
And-
nukes.
Wait, I just want to say one
Okay.
thing, and I know we're nearing the end, and I just have
Yeah.
to get this out. So, if anyone, and I don't know the answer, but this will give you an idea. In the Illinois Department of Corrections, all these prisons, I think we have about 27. The men get guns in there. So if you think that guys on the street corners that are involved in violence and high risk street activity can't get a gun, I don't care how strong and strict the gun control is, it's a totally different thing. They will still get guns.
I asked you before, what is the solution? Parental guidance
The
when you're
solution is that
when
the
you're in a penitentiary at 35 years old in Illinois is no longer an issue. Okay, so how do you stop that 35-year-old guy from getting that gun?
Because you're right, they go to Indiana, they go to Missouri, they go to Wisconsin.
So how do you stop
the
them?
perimeter around Illinois, those states have to be on board because these guys are not likely
Then
to
it's the
drive.
states next
It
to
should be
them,
national.
and then
It
it's
should be
Canada.
It should be
But
Then we'll
national.
put a
I don't
tariff on
They
Canada.
don't-
That'll
I don't
stop
think
the
there's a
guns.
definitive solution. The
They're,
price of
they're
freedom
not
is
going to
eternal
take the time to
vigilance.
Wait,
apply
I didn't
for
hear.
a
What
passport.
happened, Will?
I said there's not a definitive solution. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
I'm working on a
Eternal
topic.
pain.
And the other thing is
Unfortunate.
it's not a question of their ability to get guns. It's you got to curb their desire to get them. You have to take away their want to get.
It's
Well, now you're
behavior
talking
change.
every
Public
video
health.
game that's
Exactly.
on the market.
No, it
it's-
is
Okay.
possible to
Oh,
do.
come on.
I've
I
done
mean,
it.
not every kid that plays video games is going to
Yeah, and
shoot up
rap
the neighborhood.
albums,
man. Come
increase
on.
violence.
Come on, that's just that,
And
now we had Pepper
they
Gore
tried
over
that
here.
argument, and even the
Where
conservatives
did they
went like
get?
that.
Where did they get? Where did they get the incentive to do it? Then?
Because and
That's
Kids
how they
start
were
with
raised.
swords.
Angela, what is there a common denominator in the type of kids that you're seeing today, the young kids? Because they're giving the younger kids the guns because they only go to juvenile court. They don't go to
Not
adult
Right,
so
they
much
won't go to-
anymore.
okay,
They get
the
to
punishment is
juvenile
less.
Yeah,
license
they get
until
yeah,
21.
yeah, they get till 21, so they
Yeah.
still get out. But the point, is there a common denominator? Is the type of kid that you see, what like the home he comes from, the background he comes from, the education
Comes
he
from an
comes
affiliated family with the streets. Comes
I'll
from
give you that.
no
Just
parents,
So what are you
no
gonna do
father,
about it?
accountability,
no
no
father,
father,
no parental.
Violence in
maybe
the
the
home.
mother's on
Those are the
drugs,
types
like a
of
type
things
like
that are
me.
going to stop kids from wanting to be in gangs, from wanting to get guns, that want to go out on the street and just start spraying a neighborhood because it's a gang initiation or somebody pissed them off or looked at them wrong.
I'm real
Okay?
close with all my kids now, and I always tell them, "Thank God I didn't raise you because I was living in the projects, and you."
We're
I
way
tell-
over.
You would have been.
We're
you
way
would have
over.
been-
We're
you
Well,
would have been
folks,
pregnant at
thanks for
13,
joining
you
us
would have
at the
been-
Do
Rhythm
we have
and
any
Rose
questions you
Cafe.
wanted to get answered?
We didn't
No?
get one question.
All right, no questions.
Nobody concerns themselves about gun violence. Who cares?
Leave
right?
it. Thanks,
Anyway,
Angela.
And go buy
next
my book.
next
It's a
week,
page turner.
Tuesday, we're gonna talk immigration. You're gonna like that. All
Oh,
right.
cool.
I don't know,
Cool.
I don't know who we're gonna have for our musical guest. Oh, I wanted to say we're gonna probably put up a Facebook page or some page someplace so that if you can send us a link of your band, your local band, we can look it over, and if we like it enough, we'll showcase it
So
on the
put it in the
show.
comments and the
Why
YouTube.
don't you-
My son
Chef,
says we
chef.
talk over each other too much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. My specialty.
All right.
My specialty.
They've always said that to me.
So we
All
have
right,
Greek and
everybody.
a Sicilian. What do we expect?
Anyway, get
But
yourself
that makes it
some of this
engaging.
Death Wish coffee. We're going to talk about it next week. Death Wish coffee.